Hey, welcome back to the channel. Something strange just happened, and most people still don't realize how big it could get.
President Trump suggesting next year's World Cup games could be relocated if he thinks the cities that they're scheduled to be in aren't safe.
If any city we think is going to be even a little bit dangerous for the World Cup or for the Olympics, you know, where they have Olympic overthrow, right? But for the World Cup in particular, because they're playing in so many cities, we won't allow it to go to, we'll move it around a little bit.
On September 27th, 2025, President Donald Trump said he might pull World Cup 2026 matches out of the United States. His reason, he called cities like Seattle and San Francisco unsafe and out of control. At first, it sounded like just another headline, but then things got serious. FIFA Canada and Mexico suddenly found themselves in the middle of a political earthquake. Behind closed doors, organizers began running through the unthinkable. What if the world's biggest sporting event actually left America? Trump even praised FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino, saying he's an extraordinary man who could move matches very easily. Within hours, FIFA's vice president, Victor Montagliani, pushed back firmly, reminding Washington that the World Cup belongs to FIFA, not to any government trying to claim control.
Soccer's world governing body is sending a strong message to President Trump about the 2026 World Cup games. The vice president of FIFA reacted to the president's claim that he can move matches out of U.S. cities that he considers dangerous. FIFA's vice president said football is bigger than any country.
With all due respect to current world leaders, football is bigger than them, and football will survive.
More than 1 million tickets have already been sold to fans from over 200 countries. Moving even one game would be a logistical nightmare and a financial disaster. But here's the real twist. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about power. And for the first time in decades, America might be losing it. So the question is, did the U.S. just turn its biggest global stage into its biggest diplomatic risk? Before we begin, hit that like button if you're finding this eye-opening. It really helps us beat the algorithm.
The 2026 World Cup is coming to Vancouver, and people are bouncing with excitement.
Super pumped. Like literally, it pains me to be sitting down right now. I want to be jumping up and down.
Soccer fans in Canada are celebrating big time today because Canada will be co-hosting the 2026 World Cup along with the U.S. and Mexico. The North American bid won out over Morocco after a suspenseful vote.
And while Washington was making headlines for all the wrong reasons, Ottawa was quietly doing the opposite. Long before the controversy erupted, Canada had already built a full-scale plan from infrastructure and transport to security and finance, ready step in if the unthinkable happened. In Vancouver, Mayor Ken Sim compared the World Cup to hosting 30 to 40 Super Bowls in a single month, a sign of just how massive the preparation has been. The city is set to host 7 matches, including a round of 16 game, while Toronto will host 6, backed by over $200 million in combined federal and provincial funding. British Columbia alone has budgeted between $532 million and $624 million for the event, a figure that reflects not extravagance, but commitment. Premier David Eby even wrote directly to FIFA, assuring that BC was ready to take on any matches relocated from the U.S. if necessary. It's a stark contrast. As America wrestles with political uncertainty, Canada is positioning itself as the stable hand, organized, transparent, and prepared, the kind of reliability FIFA craves when chaos hits elsewhere. If you've made it this far, you probably care. Consider subscribing to stay updated. At the same time, another co-host was quietly stepping into the spotlight. While Canada projected stability, Mexico began rebuilding its legacy, determined to show that it could once again carry the weight of the world's biggest tournament. Nearly 4 decades after hosting the 1986 World Cup, Mexico is reviving its football heritage with modern ambition. The iconic Estadio Azteca, soon to be renamed Estadio Ciudad de Mexico, is scheduled to reopen in March 2026, just months before it hosts the opening match on June 11th. In Monterrey, Estadio BBVA has undergone major upgrades, including a new lighting system, meeting FIFA's highest technical standards, making it eligible for high-stakes matches like quarterfinals or semifinals. Across Guadalajara and other cities, the federal government has accelerated transportation and security projects to ensure smooth access and safe mobility for fans. Together, these investments position Mexico as FIFA's most reliable backup plan, a fully equipped host ready to absorb any matches that might be pulled from the United States. But beyond logistics, this is also a moment of renewal, a chance for Mexico to restore its global sporting reputation and build momentum ahead of the 2028 Olympic cycle. But while Canada and Mexico prepared to welcome the world, the United States found itself tangled in its own red tape. From a symbol of global openness, America was starting to look like a fortress, hard to enter, harder to trust. By late 2025, visa backlogs had become a defining obstacle. In Colombia, applicants were waiting up to 18 months just for an interview effectively, shutting out tens of thousands of fans who had already bought tickets. Similar delays stretched across parts of Asia, Africa, and South America, leaving FIFA scrambling to reassure international visitors that the U.S. was still ready. Air travel offered little comfort. Aviation analysts warned of nearly 100 crisis-level days per year, the equivalent of Thanksgiving weekend chaos repeating every few days. Meanwhile, heightened border checks and travel restrictions tied to ICE operations created an atmosphere of unease, especially among Latin American and Asian tourists. Washington's proposed national vetting service meant to streamline the process remains stalled in bureaucratic limbo. And as time runs out, FIFA is quietly shifting language, using phrases like schedule optimization and climate balance to mask a deeper reality, a gradual reallocation of attention and contingency planning toward Canada and Mexico. In the world's eyes, logistical challenge has become something far larger, a credibility test for a nation once seen as the ultimate host. Amid the noise of political statements and social media storms, FIFA made one thing clear. It wasn't going to be pulled into politics. As Trump's remarks rippled across headlines, the organization reaffirmed its independence, emphasizing that the World Cup belongs to FIFA, not to the White House. Behind closed doors, officials were careful but firm. The responsibility for safety rests with governments, yet the authority over venues and scheduling remains entirely within FIFA's hands. The message was subtle, but unmistakable. The game would go on FIFA's terms. Officially, the 2026 Organizing Committee insists there are no relocation plans, but phrases like climate balance and schedule optimization have quietly entered their communications, technical language that gives the organization flexibility to shift matches if necessary without ever saying so directly. Observers see a pattern emerging, the gradual reweiging of priority toward Canada and Mexico, where readiness and stability have become undeniable advantages. In doing so, FIFA isn't just protecting a tournament, it's setting boundaries, drawing a quiet line between the politics of power and the global language of sport. While Washington's turmoil breeds uncertainty, Ottawa's steadiness is quietly turning into profit. For Canada, the 2026 World Cup isn't just a sporting event, it's a powerful economic engine. Pullout projects the tournament could add up to $3.88 billion to Canada's economy, including nearly $2 billion in direct GDP. That means real jobs, about 24,000 positions across construction, hospitality, transport, and tourism, generating roughly $1.3 billion in wages and $700 million in tax revenue. Metro Vancouver leads with $1.3 billion in output and 13,000 new jobs, while Toronto follows close behind, transforming its downtown into a lasting economic hub. Proof that Canada's transparent planning and stable policies can turn global attention into long-term returns. At a time when politics divides nations, Canada's quiet consistency is becoming its greatest advantage, showing that in today's world, stability itself is an economic strategy. As the world watches, the balance of power is shifting in plain sight. What began as a shared North American tournament has quietly turned into a test of who can stay steady when politics and logistics collide. Analysts suggest that if instability in the U.S. continues, FIFA could quietly reassign key matches, even a semifinal or the closing ceremonies, to Canada. It wouldn't be punishment, but practicality. For many, that shift would signal a deeper transfer of trust. Global outlets already call it the North American World Cup, but with its heart in Canada. Mexico, too, is seizing the moment to rebuild its regional influence, while Washington finds itself increasingly isolated on the very stage it once led, a symbol of fading soft power. Because in the end, it's not about who hosts the games, but who embodies stability when the world needs it most. And maybe, just maybe, the quietest player on the field is now holding the winning card. So, here's the question. In a time when chaos spreads faster than confidence, Is stability becoming the world's true superpower? If this video gave you something to think about, like and subscribe to support more content like this. Thank you.